We will pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Let the record show that Jason Paul, trustee, is absent. All other members of the Board of Trustees are present. And I have two changes to the agenda. Since Jason is not here under old business, he was going to report on the status of foils. We will postpone that to the next meeting. And under new business, I am adding a discussion regarding the upcoming elections. So with that in mind, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So
Do we intend to go to executive session?
We do, it's on there.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Okay?
Yep.
All right,
I move to adopt the agenda.
all right, second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda is adopted. Okay, next item on our agenda is the formal appointment of our library manager, which is a momentous event for us this evening.
Absolutely.
And we have a resolution, and I will entertain a motion to appoint.
I move that we adopt this resolution to appoint Marion Allen as our library manager.
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
How about Yahoo?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Welcome. It is a momentous occasion. And we welcome Marion to sit with us this evening. And that is in keeping with what we have all discussed in the sessions that you all weren't there on, but we're gonna be a team, and we're here to support Marion. We're here to make sure that things move forward and the library opens, and things will be the way they should. So welcome again, and we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
Okay,
Want to say anything about the library?
yeah, now, what's happening is, just so everyone is aware, Marion is appointed effective on the 27th of the month. We will actually officially open the library on the 1st of March. She will be here for a few days to get acquainted with the facility, with the office, with the staff, on and so forth, and we'll be back in business. So that's where we are at this point. Next thing we're gonna do is approve our minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. First, we had a regular meeting on the 23rd of January, and those minutes were sent to all trustees in advance. Do we have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
Make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are approved. We also had a special meeting, which was basically called so we could go into executive session and move forward with the appointment of a library manager. And that was done on the 30th of January. Very brief minutes on that. All trustees have seen those. Any changes, corrections to those minutes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt, to accept those minutes.
I'll move.
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I'm going to continue for a few times with what I'm calling the president's report. And I'll just continue this because many things are happening in between these meetings. And some of them we're not actually talking about at this meeting, but I want to make sure that all of you are informed as to the things that are happening. And so I'll do that, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. And maybe eventually it won't be necessary for me to do it. But for the moment, I think it's important that we keep everybody up to speed. So first of all, you were here for what we consider an important milestone. And the number one goal that we were in getting open and moving forward, we've appointed our new library manager. But I want you to make no mistake, that's just one of the many steps that we are going to have to take in order to get back to returning to to a normal, smoothly functioning library that you all deserve. So that's step one. Second thing is, a point to you that, I'll let you know that we did put our attorney on retainer. We adopted that last time. That's all been executed and we're there. The agreement is set. And that's going to result in a significant savings to the library for our legal expenses, which is important. The third thing that's been happening is that, and we mentioned this at the last meeting as well, now that we have a library manager, we'll be moving the strategic planning committee process forward. The two previous members of the committee have agreed to continue. Marion will be a member of that committee, and the board will be represented by Rosemarie Gardner. Now, looking to keep this group at a manageable size, because committees can sometimes get a little out of hand, we would entertain adding at least two more folks to the committee. So if any of you are interested, or you know somebody who is interested in serving on the strategic planning committee, get in touch with me or Ree or one of the other members of the board, and we'll give that consideration. Okay, this second thing, or the next to last thing, is that you may or may not know that all the trustees are required to have 2 hours of library education, and that's required each fiscal year. The topics that are presented at these various education sessions include things like financial oversight, accountability, fiduciary responsibility, and the general powers and duties of the library manager. In addition to that, there's a state-approved 1-hour sexual harassment training course that's required annually. We've partnered with SALS to provide that to any of us who have not done that training. And I will be maintaining a record for the board, and it's strongly recommended by the state library folks that we have a written training policy, which we don't at this time. So that will be one of the many things, as I mentioned, there's many things to do. That'll be one of the many things we'll be taking up as we go forward. And finally, you heard me mention that I've altered the agenda for new business to talk about elections. So once again, this year, we will be using the services of the school district to conduct the annual elections. And there's some preparatory work that is required now in order to get that ball rolling and that process underway. And we'll be taking that up under new business tonight. So that's my report for the moment. Turning now to our VP of Finance, and we have a report from Bree.
We do. Okay, we have a couple of deposits. You'll notice on the second page of the handout I gave you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
That wasn't very nice. There we go.
Thank you so much.
We had a check for $90 that was deposited. That was from Somerset Trust. Yeah.
You want this one? Oh, you have it on all.
Yeah. That was an addition, just
Got it.
$390. We talked about this a little bit last time. It was a balance that was left on a credit card that we no longer have. It came in, I mentioned it in last month's report, but it came in too late to deposit for that time, so that's why it's being mentioned here. And we also had a rebate, check, not a rebate, a dividend check from the state insurance fund in the amount of $115.54. It's a dividend check of 37.5% of the premium paid for the policy year, July 1, 2022 to July 1, 2023. And apparently this is a new thing to me, but it's an investment kind of thing. So there's a dividend that goes out to all the libraries. It's all good for us. So we deposited $505.54. We can move to the expenses for this time, and they're pretty, there's nothing really unusual. They're pretty standard. But for your edification there, folks, we have the bookkeeping amount is $487.50. SALS is a $377.46 amount. That's for the January JA fee, and for training total. The January JA fee is $308.34. The training that Ted referred to a few minutes ago, the harassment training that we all took online, was an online course, was $69.12, which totals $377.46. Midwest Tape is due $45.37. That's for Hoopla. again, is our digital and audiobook and for movies. Our regular February payments, these were all pre-approved, our pre-approved payment. Green Acres for snow plowing and shoveling, Waterhouse Fuels, sorry, Green Acres is $325, Waterhouse is $490, Spectrum February payment is $119.97. And then for Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah, that's our attorney. There's an amount here being paid of $500. That's 1/4 of the annual retainer. So we'll be doing that apparently every quarter. We'll do that. And then written in apologies to my colleagues here because it slipped by almost. There's another charge to another fee due Sal's in the amount of $829.51. This is for something called overdrive contribution for the year 2024, and I had to check to find out what it was. Basically, it has to do with all of our e-materials. So Sal's purchases all of those. They make the purchases, and then all the libraries contribute because we all use them. We all contribute to that cost, and each library's contribution is based on their usage, their average usage over the previous 2 years. Okay, and so that's what that is for. That brings our total this time to $3,175.01. So I think we need a motion to approve the bills.
Moving to accept that report. I move we accept that report.
Okay, I have some more, but I did want to take care of that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, a couple of other little things that have happened to kind of improve our financial state here. I did check with our bank on the power account, and it has been changed to what our banker is calling a municipal account, which doesn't give us a whole bunch, but it's more than nothing, which is what we had before. So previously, our checking account, which generally has a good chunk in there, had been earning 0% interest. We now have a 0.3, a 0.03% interest, so it's not a lot, but it all adds up a little bit. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about our CDs. Now, we have 2 CDs existing. There were 3. One was used in part for new shelving, which did not take all of that amount, so the balance of that was put back onto one of the other 2 CDs. So we now have 2 CDs, one in the amount of $31,890.76, and the second in the amount of $33,411.04. I found that I was concerned about their earning power too, and so what I found was that they earned just 0.1% interest last year, which is really unacceptable. Probably what happened. This is a guess, because none of the folks who were working hard last time are here to ask. But there's only a 10-day window to reinvest CDs once they reach maturity. If nothing changes, if we don't change something, they're generally automatically moved to a 12-month CD, and that's not always the highest yielding choice. So our CDs mature on April 22nd and April 27th. And again, there's a 10-day window to reinvest. So right now, and of course this could change a little bit because interest amounts do. Currently, a 14-month CD would earn 4.34%, which is a ton more than 0.1%. And a 6-month CD would earn 5.06% interest. So it's much, much better. You know, these are investments, and we really need to do a good job of monitoring them and reinvesting them. That's part of our fiduciary responsibility. So I don't know if we should decide that. What I would like to do is have authority already so that when this time frame comes up, I can just make those changes. Or we can talk about it for next time. It has to happen. It's just whether we decide to do it now or we do it in March, but it has to happen in April to garner that interest, which I think is
When
very
we
important.
have our March meeting, Will you know at that point
We'll,
what the rates will be?
we'll double check,
And
yeah.
at that point, that the board could then weigh
Yes.
in and approve
yes,
you going ahead.
yes.
Does
And
that seem
Matt,
reasonable to
Yes.
Matt and
everybody?
I have already discussed that we know the interest rates may vary a little.
Sure.
So at that point, we'll find out what it is and take the higher, of course, whatever that happens to be. He seems to think it will continue to be the 6-month CD. And then, of course, it'll just have to go on a fluorescent calendar somewhere. That 6 months from there, somebody
Sure.
has to make sure that they're taking care of that. Okay. Anything, Josh?
Yeah, was there a grant for the shelving? I believe there was. Was the CD cashed out as prepayment for that?
I wouldn't know the answer. You would have a better idea probably.
All right, we'll have to look for the deposit of grant money. It seems odd that the CD was cashed out if grant money came in too.
It wasn't totally cashed out.
Okay.
There was about 10,000, I could check the numbers, there was about $10,000 left of the CD that they, chipped into, and that was just put back onto another CD. This is from our banker. So it may have been done like the grant would have, and I don't know about the
Maybe the
grant.
grant came in too late. We'll have to
Do you
check.
remember how much the grant was?
No.
So I don't know if that was part, like they used the grant and needed more, I'm not sure what the situation was, but the managing of the CDs has been honorable and upright. There are bank records to justify what was done. There doesn't seem to be anything that we all need to be worrying about, except for the fact that the reinvesting needs to be done in a timely way. That's my only concern with that. And then just very quickly, because you had asked me to check in on the state of the audit and the annual report.
Yes, please.
Okay, so as far as the audit goes, and we talked about this last time, we have gathered all the documents from the treasurer, and they're ready to be electronically sent to the auditor. They had offered to drive from Albany up here to pick up hard copies, and I asked if they couldn't just be electronically moved there. Turns out they can, but then we had to wait for them to set up another account for us because they use something called FileCloud. So yet another program for me to figure out, but so we had to wait for that to happen. It has happened, it's just happened, and so I guess the best update is documents are collected, and now we can send them to the auditor, and then we'll be on them.
And that's the financial audit,
Right,
which is for the fiscal year that ends last year.
right,
So that's not this year's, but 2022.
yes.
Okay.
Now, the annual report is a whole different baby. I think of it kind of having worked with it a little bit. It's kind of like a State of the Union address, but it's the State of the Library address, if you will. It takes into account everything from the number of patrons we've seen to the number of e-loans and serials that we have, to the kind of summer programs and individual programs, just everything, every kind of number you can think of. All libraries do it. All of the reports go from us to SALS. They review it and get back to us if there's something that's missing or flagged, and then they go on to the state. It is extensive. Ours is almost complete. SALS had asked for libraries, and I attended a day-long workshop, what was it, 2 weeks ago, to learn a little bit more about it. And most libraries had a due date of February 16th. Ours was extended because we had a lot of learning to do. So SALS is certainly, working along with us. So we're not late. We're using every bit of the time, I'd have to say, but we're not late. We have been approved. We have an approved timeline for submission I'm hoping within the next week or so. So some of that set of questions, part of it is already populated for us. Some of it Claire's been able to help with. Some of it I've been able to find in some materials that Sal's provided. And again, they're very aware that we're under constraints and are being very supportive of us there. And that's
Okay, great. And that is an absolute requirement, as we are now part of the whole state library system. So the fact that we've got a little grace period is good, but we will make it and we'll be on time.
There's just one other thing it's concerning. It does touch in with this. We talked a little bit last time about a variance because we were out of, thank you, compliance with, a couple things at the time. We didn't have a library manager, we weren't open, there were things that technically are out of compliance. And we talked a little bit about variances then and what we would have to do to secure a variance. And I've learned that we don't need to do anything to secure a variance. When those kind of things are made apparent in the annual report, the state of New York, the Board of Regents notes that there is a variance, and that's what's called the variance. We're used to a variance being something that we appeal for, a variance at the planning board or something like that. This is different. It's the state saying there's a variance in what is expected or supported or required. And all that happens then is we need to supply a plan. And our plan is kind of taking care of itself. So I just wanted to mention that because we did talk last time about what would we have to do to secure the variance.
Didn't we have some conversation about, like a policy about CDs in trying to avoid a single person cash out without a board vote?
I don't see anything in the policies that are on that.
Didn't we have a conversation about developing a policy of
Sure.
that nature? Or maybe that's something I'll work on for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we can distribute around. Just, I know that has been an issue, and I know that, Robert mentioned VP of Finance and Treasurer would be the best
Sure.
candidates to actually seal the deal and cash in, but, all right, sounds
Great.
good.
Okay, we'll put that on for next time. Okay, any other comments, questions, suggestions for that? Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have a secretary's report?
We have a very brief secretary's report.
Okay,
I attended Sal's advocacy days, which were basically half-hour Zoom meetings with various elected, our state legislators. And there were just time for Sal's and BOCES to talk about what kinds of funding they hope our legislators will advocate for. I went to the one with Mary Beth Walsh and Carrie Warner. They're both strong library supporters, and Carrie Warner especially was interested in finding out how we're doing here, and I was happy to report that we are doing well and we are soon to reopen, so that was nice to be able to do.
okay, thank you. Okay, under old business, we did take off the status of FOIL since Jason is not with us. And it was my task to come up with a key policy for this meeting, and I'm gonna provide that to each of you, and I think I sent it out ahead, but basically what we're trying to do here is codify the issue of keys. There are a number of keys, and I think if those of you that were here last time heard us talk about that. There's keys to the building, there's keys to the manager's office, there's keys to the red trustee's file cabinet, there's a key to the post office box, and there may be some other keys that I'm not even aware of. So basically, we want to get it down in terms of who's responsible to manage that and keep the records. The policy that I'm proposing is that responsibility for controlling the keys, except for the ones for the Board of Trustees file cabinet, will rest on the library manager. Welcome.
Nice.
And we'll ask the manager to be maintaining a record of everyone who has a key and where all the other keys, if they exist, are, so that we know. And I think that's important for us as a business. The Board of Trustees cabinet, which is again, that red file cabinet you see in the corner over there, is where we're keeping things that are permanent type record that the board needs to maintain. Things like reports, secretary's reports, policies, other things that may be important to the board. And in that case, we're gonna limit that in a bit because we don't think everybody should have access to that, obviously. So basically, I put together a table, and the trustees have it, where when we look at the main building, getting in here, the doors you come in, we've got 10 keys that exist for that. And my suggestion is that any trustee who wishes to have a key can. The library manager must have a key. Members of the staff at the discretion of the library manager. The cleaning contractor, that's the person that comes in out of hours to clean our library, should have a key to be able to come in. And then for some reason or other, and we're gonna find this out when we go down to our training in 2 days, and you may know the answer, Claire. Sal's has 2 keys.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why they have 2 keys, but we'll
One
find
is
out.
for ILL and one is for them to keep on record.
Just as do they do that for all libraries?
I imagine
I'll
so.
find that out, okay. So that's what we're proposing for people that would be authorized to have the keys. In the manager's office, it ought to be the library manager, obviously. But I'm also suggesting that the board president have a key in the event the manager is sick or disabled or there's some problem, we ought to be able to get in that office. So that would be reasonable. For the post office box, right at the moment, we have only one key, as I understand. And that key will be in the control of the library manager. If you think we need another one, you can think that through and let us know when the
Okay.
time comes. And then finally, the trustees file cabinet, should be the board president, the board secretary, and the VP finance. Should be able to get in that cabinet, and I'm open to whether every trustee should have a key to that. What do you think, Josh? Is it?
What my notation that I have here is no limitation to access to trustees clause. Access cannot be at the discretion of the secretaries, and I think that's obvious, but I think we should put it in there. I don't think we have a fear with our current secretary that she's gonna withhold information, but it's a potential, it could
Okay.
happen.
Okay,
So what you're saying is everyone gets a key, maybe just throw something in there about no limitation of access to documents, that it, surely the secretary has possession of the key, but that she's not actually limiting access to documents to whoever she determines is the best candidate to get them. Any trustee can have them. I think we should just.
Can have the documents, or we should make more keys?
I don't really want a key,
Right.
so I wanna ask you for, hey, can you check out this document for me, that kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So, we don't want limitations on access to documents for trustees is all that I'm thinking we should add, but other than that, looks great.
okay. And then I didn't know if there were any other keys. I put a question to myself on this.
There's a number of different miscellaneous keys, like we have keys to a paper towel holder, there's keys to small knickknacks all around, there's a number of unlabeled keys.
All right, so maybe
Too, right?
we'll ask Marion to get her on.
Yes, there are Dropbox keys as well.
Okay. All right, well, I'll get that information and then finalize this. If the general layout of this looks okay, we'll find that out and then we'll accordingly.
I think that's good. One of the things we did before was we threw everything to Robert prior to vote too, so maybe that would be a good thing. And what that did was that prevented us from scribbling up what we wanted and then finding out, hey, this is kind of sketchy, this needs to be retrained this way or that way. It just kind of kept everything succinct and helped us to get things done quicker.
When it comes to a policy.
Yeah,
Okay.
because what was happening was it was extending out for 4, 5, 6 meetings instead of where we could have just done 2 if we had touched base with Robert in the beginning.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, that'll be my task. Okay. Done. Anything else on that at this moment? Okay. Now, under new business, we've added, I added the issue that has to do with elections. So what's gonna happen is, this year, we're going to, again, use the services of the school district to run the election for the library board of trustees. Okay? And what's happening is the 3 of us who were appointed by the regents have a term which expires.
Jason's term
Jason
expires
as
as
well.
well.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say, plus Jason, who was appointed by the board at one point, his term expires. So there are gonna be 4 board positions that are gonna be up for vote come this year. And there's preparation that's necessary to provide information to the school district in order for them to get it on their agenda and to put it into their system and so on and so forth. So I worked with Robert, our attorney, to prepare a resolution that will do that for this round of the elections. And I am going to move that we put this resolution in place, and I want to read it for everyone to be up to date. So it's resolved first that pursuant to section 260 of the education law, the library manager of Rockwell Falls Library is directed to notify the clerk of the Hadley Luzerne Central School District that the library intends to hold an election to fill 4 vacancies on the board of trustees of the Rockwell Falls Public Library during the May 21st, 24 annual school district meeting. 2 for full 3-year terms, each ending June 30th of 2027. And 2, that was resulting from the expiration of the terms of former trustees Kathleen Jones and Janet Silber. To elect persons to be elected to fill the balance of the unexpired terms vacated by Patricia Lewandowski and Kathleen Mitchell, each ending in June 30th of 2025. And it's further resolved that the two candidates who received the first and second highest total number of votes cast in their favor will fill the 3-year terms ending in 2027. The two candidates who received the third and fourth highest total number of votes cast shall fill the unexpected balance of the terms ending on June 30th, 2025. And it is further resolved that pursuant to section 260 of the education law, nominating petitions for the election must be filled with the school district clerk on or before 5 p.m. on April 22nd, 2024. That's the extent of the resolution. I'll go into some explanations, but I move that we accept this resolution. Do you want to have any discussion about that? The reason that we went to the issue of the expiration in the terms at different times is so that they're staggered. And we don't have a situation where 4 or 5 people are being elected at once and you have a brand new board again trying to get their arms around it. It was interesting. I guess I'll put it that way. So it would be, you're here then for 2 more years.
I am.
People will come in for 1 year, you'll be here for 2, and there are people who are here for 3. So then as those terms expire, it will continue to roll over on the same basis. And we'll always have people on the board that have a little, what I'll call institutional knowledge. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's my motion.
I'll second.
Second motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's good. Now, what's going to happen is, Marion and I will take a letter to the district clerk of the Hadley Luzerne Central School District indicating we passed this resolution and this is what's going to happen. It's basically what I read you in the resolution. And then I'm getting information from the attorney because again, this is all new to us. But in order to, and you would be familiar because you did this last time, in order to become a candidate in that election, people are going to have to get a petition filled out. And there will be directions and instructions and so on how to go about this. And as soon as we have that information, we'll make it available on the website. And we'll also have paper copies here for people. And we'll make sure that that gets up to everyone so that anyone and anybody that's interested in serving on this board and being a candidate in this upcoming election has a chance to do that.
Is that the exact form?
This is the exact form that he sent to me, yes.
Okay,
It
that's-
actually requires, that only goes up to like 15 or something. It actually requires, I believe he told me, 25 people to sign a petition that agrees to have you put on the board.
There was a lot of confusion about that last time because it wasn't stated on the sheet.
Well, see, that apparently he's gonna send me some additional directions, which he didn't have time to do.
Awesome.
So once we've got that, boom, we'll put it out, and there's time to get this out, because that's not due until April 22nd. This preliminary stuff has to go in because the school district has to do a whole bunch of things. So, with this in mind and that passed, unless there's any further discussion, I don't think we need to deal with that any further. Okay, so moving right along. We are going to, eventually go into an executive session. I'll talk about that in a minute, but we would allow public comment at this time, and I just want to, once again, indicate that what we'd like to have happen is, any of you who wish to make a comment, please come forward, tell us who you are, make your comment, address the board, and we'll make sure that everyone who's interested in speaking gets a chance. So I am opening it to public comment. Mr. Hagedorn.
Excuse me. Colin Hagedorn, Town of Hadley. Just a couple things. I wonder, has the board received, from Del Lorenzo Accounting, how many 1099s went out for 2023?
I have not.
And I spoke to Lee prior to the meeting in regards to bank CD, and I just questioned if we got a penalty in regard to that bank CD being cashed into those. And if we could find
We know
out.
I don't, but I said to, I
No,
was
I
speaking
know.
with Colin
We
earlier.
said-
Oh,
just
okay.
those
We
things.
will get
I
you
spoke
there.
to Ray on that.
No problem.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else with public comment at this point, please? Sure, just so we see you.
Okay. Janice Waterhouse from Lake Luzerne, and I just want to say I'm grateful for the work that you've done and for the efforts to reopen the library and for having that happen. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
thank you. Esther?
I'm old and I didn't hear the last comment because I'm in the back row, but if the lady praised the demeanor of the new board, I would endorse that. If not, I'll say it on my own.
Thank you.
I'm Dan Levy in Fourth Lake, and I had a different sort of question about money, a very general one, but actually two parts. One is whether the board has talked about and whether it perceives that there is a great need for more money. I know, that's sort of an easy question, there's always need for more money, but is there a particular need for more money, or is among the library's many problems, money maybe not one of them? And the second part, so I know there's discussion of what money might come in from like BOCES and other grants, and I have no idea where the library sits on that, but it does seem to me that there could be some silver lining in the bad events of the last year, that more of us are aware of the library, the precarious state that there can be of public institutions, how difficult it sometimes is to get along and function well, and then all the more appreciate the functioning of a board. It seems like a good time where people would have a feel-good feeling in the transition. And maybe it's a good time for this would be a judgment call. Maybe you want to establish more of a record first, but could be tossed out of office soon too. But perhaps a fundraising campaign at this time would make sense.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I will say that we as a board have not discussed in detail what our needs are. We're still getting our arms around how it all works. And once we have that, I'm sure we will be looking forward, and I think those are great comments. Thank you.
I'm Joellen Parsons, Lake Luzerne. It's two things. One is I really do want to thank you all for taking responsibility for doing this, and I really appreciate that, and I know a lot of people in the community do. And welcome you. And the second thing is about the postal keys. I think usually people, organizations and people get 2 keys or can have 2 keys. So I'm wondering if there ever was a second key, and if so, what happened to that key, or if it's floating around somewhere and someone else has access to our post office box. Anybody have any ideas about that?
Pre-us.
We have no idea. All we know is there's 1 key. Okay,
Does hit on an important point. Maybe we could ask about a change of lock or a change of box or something.
that would be, yeah, I guess that we could look into that. Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. And public comment session, and then just to make a note for everyone, the date for our next regular meeting will be March 19th, Tuesday. Same time, same place, same crew. And at this point, we're gonna move to executive session. I move that the board enter executive session to discuss salary and status of our current library clerk, and further move that we invite our library manager-elect to join that executive session with us.
I so moved.
Okay? Oh, you seconded my motion.
Oh, sorry, I second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye, okay, so the board will now do that, and we'll be back out afterwards, and basically all we're gonna do is adjourn the public meeting, so you're welcome to stick around, but that's up to you. So, we're back, all right, for a moment.
I'll text you.
Yeah. I don't think we need to sit down. All right, we need a motion to close the executive session.
I make that motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And,
I make a motion to go back into executive session to talk about, situation from the previous board meeting and, potentially banning a patron.
second? All in favor? Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll be back up.
Okay. Riveting.
No.
We'll entertain a motion to.
Adjourn. I'll make
Aye.
it.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Okay. There we go. So what do you need to know?